Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel, and in this video I'll be learning how to make this dress. So I made this dress for my younger sister and I just decided to wear it. So that's why I couldn't zip it finish at the back. But then this is what this dress looks like. And if you would like to learn how to make this dress, then please continue watching, and also please do not forget to also like, subscribe and drop a beautiful comment. So let's get started. So these are the fabrics I'll be using. I have about 2.5 yards of mikado. I have my zip, my thread, and then lining. For my lining, I have about 1.5 yards of lining, and then my pattern paper with my pattern ruler. So these are the basic tools we'll be needing for this dress. So right here, I've gone ahead to mark out my vertical measurement, and for the front, I have my chest line marked out. I have my bust point. I also have my under bust, and then my half length. Then for my half length, I mark down to my hip line, and for my hip line, after the next vertical measurement is my full length. So for the nipple to nipple, I have 4 inches marked out. And then moving on to the back, I also have my chest line, which is same measurement for the front and the back. So the difference here is that our back half length is shorter than the front. So for mine is 1.5 inches shorter than the front. And from there, I also went ahead to mark out my hip line, and from there now, so for the full length, I would also want to go ahead from my hip line, measure what I have for the front, and go ahead to measure, return it that same measurement back from the back hip line to the full length. So from your front hip line, if you have 20 inches from the hip line down to your full length, whatever measurement you have, go ahead to your back hip line and go ahead and return same measurement here so that you can have it well aligned. I did not know my camera was not recording when I did the slanting for my shoulder length, but I just want to go ahead to explain. So I went ahead to mark out my neck width of 3 inches, and also went ahead to mark out my shoulder length of 7.5 inches, and also came down from there by 1.5 inches and slanted to my neck width. And from there, I also came down to mark out my chest line and got the midpoint from this slant line, and I came out by 3/4 inches, which I used to slant it out. So I'm just sorry because I could not get the recorded part of that part. So my camera was go ahead again to explain. So I got the midpoint just as I explained. I measured and I marked, got the midpoint. I marked out and I came out by 3/4 inch. Then I slanted. So that was how I went about that. So the next thing I will want to do now is my dart intake. So on my front half length, I would just want to go ahead to measure 3/4 inches on both sides, and I would just want to go ahead connect just as you've seen to my bust point. And for the down part, I will not just want to connect like that. I will want to measure 1 inches up and mark it there and go ahead to connect from there to my dart leg. So after this point, the next thing we want to do is that we're going to measure and mark out our round measurement. So for my hip round, I'll be doing my hip divided by 4, but I just want to add 1 inches to my hip round. You could do 1 inches or 1.5 inches, or better still maintain your hip round measurement. And then for the waist round, I will mark out my waist round divided by 4, add our dart intake, which mine is 1.5, and I've already marked out my bust round divided by 4. And I just want to use my pattern line, just as you've seen me done, to connect the lines together. So after this now, I'm using my curve ruler to connect my armhole. So after this now, what I just want to do now is to get the midpoint of my shoulder slant, and I will go ahead to mark that out. So after marking that out, I'll use my straight ruler to connect it to my bust point, and from this now, I'm going to do my over bust tightening. So for my over bust tightening, I'll be working with 3/4 inches, but first for my under bust tightening, I came in by 0.5 inches and I came out by 1/4 inches. For this stress, you might not really want to stress with your under bust tightening. You might leave it just as it is with the dart, or you might just do 1/4 inches. But for me, I just came out by half inches on the other side and 1/4 inches on the outer part, and I connected it to my dart leg. So right now, what I want to do is my side dart, and for my side dart is the difference between the front half length and the back half length. For me, mine is 1.5 inches, and I went ahead to connect to my bust point. So for my over bust tightening, I'm working with 3/4 inches, and after marking on both sides, I'll go ahead to connect to my So after connecting my overbust tightening, I want to go ahead to return 3/4 inches to the side, and also want to go ahead to connect what I have to my half length. So after this line that we're going to mark now, I want to go ahead also on this new line to mark 1.5 inches, which is our side dart intake, and go ahead to reconnect to my bust point. So that is what I'll be doing for here. So the next thing I just want to do now, so I had a routine to add to my hip round. So I just want to go ahead, mark out an extra 2 inches to my hip round and add it here. So you might not want to do this. I just decided to do that for mine. And after doing this, next thing I want to do now is on my hemline, I would also want to go ahead to mark my exact hip round measurement on my hemline and connect it. So if you're using your exact hip measurement, what you want to do for the hemline is you might want to go ahead to -1 inch from your hip round and mark it here and go ahead to connect. So right now I'm just using my pattern ruler to connect, to smoothen the line, my curved pattern ruler to smoothen the line. So at this point, I'll say we are done with the front, and next thing is for to extend our side that leg, our that leg down. So which I'll be So the next thing I'll be doing at this point, I'll just want to go ahead to mark out my bust point down, which is 4 inches. I'm going to mark it down, and it's going to serve for our side gathers. And after marking it down from my half length, I'll come down by 1 inches. You could do 1 inches or 1.5 inches. So I advise you come down by 1 inches. And after coming down by 1 inches, I would just want to go ahead to connect it. So I'll be using my pattern ruler for that. So I'll just place my pattern ruler just as you can see me do here and go ahead to connect it, and this is going to be our side gather. So at this point we can say we are done with the front and we'll be moving to the back part of it. So for our back pattern, what I would just want to do now is to return the measurements and some of the measurement I did for the front, like the shoulder slants and the chest line. So I'm went ahead to measure my neck width and my shoulder length, and I also went ahead to connect this, and I will get the midpoint and also come out by ½ inches and connect just as you can see me do here. So our back is not going to be as stressful as the front was. So right now what I'm just going to do at the half length is that I came in by ½ inches, and I will just want to go ahead to connect it to my neckline and also go ahead to connect it to my hip line, just as you can see me do here. So I've already gone ahead to mark out my bust point, my bust band, which is going to be as that. So now I'm just going ahead to mark out my bust round divided by 4, and I will use my curved pattern ruler to connect it, and I will also want to go ahead to mark out other round measurements. So what I want to do now, I'll just want to go ahead to extend my 4 inches to my chest line, and after which I will just want to go now to mark out my waist dart measurements. So now for my dart measurement, same thing we did for the front is what we'll be doing for the back. So for my back, I'll be going in by 3/4 inches, and I'll just want to go ahead now to connect it up. And as we did for the front, remember we came up by 1 inches, which I also did from the hip line. So I came up by 1 inches and I went ahead to connect. So after now, what I'll be doing next is my back neck tightening, and from this point I will just want to go ahead to mark ½ inches from both sides. And after marking ½ inches from both sides, I will want to connect it. So marking ½ inches from both sides, that is, we are removing 1 inches for our back neck tightening. The reason I'm doing this so that my back can be fitted. So you might also want to go ahead to return ½ inches back to your side, but I will not be doing that. I felt it's just okay like that. So what I'm doing now is that I'm going to mark out my waist round measurement on my half length. So your waist round measurement divided by 4 plus your dart intake, and I went ahead to connect it. So right now what I'm also going to do on my hip round now, I'm returning the same hip round measurement I marked for the front. So if you're using your actual hip round measurement, you use your actual hip round measurement. If you're adding 1 inch, you add 1 inch. So don't forget, whatever measurement you're using on your hip round, if you're using your actual hip round measurement, you minus 1 inch from it on the hemline. So for me, I'm not using my actual hip measurement. I just added about 2 inches, and I went to use my curved ruler to curve it like this. And for the hemline, I used 10 inches, which is my actual hip measurement that I had earlier plus 1 inch for the hemline. So at this point, I'll say we are done with the back, and what is left is our side gathers, the side part. So what I would just want to do right now is my back neckline. So I just want to come down by 1 inches there and slant. Alternatively, you could leave your back neckline like that, but I just think I wanted mine to come down a curve a bit, so I went ahead to come down by 1 inches there. And I'm going to cut it out. So the side gathers, I did not bother to cut it out, though you can still cut it out. So the reason was that I wanted to use what I have for the front and also use it for the back. So right now I'm going to cut out, just as you can see me do. So when cutting out, I had to pause at this point. Remember I said earlier that we are going to use the front side that we cut out for the back. So I would just want to go ahead now to to mark out the side and the center so we don't cut it out wrongly when cutting to the back. So this is for our front, and that is why I wrote front here. So I just want to go ahead, place the side to the side and the center to the center. You could use a paper tape to hold it down so that you just go ahead and use it to cut it out. So that is what I'm just going to do. Place it just as you can see me do here and cut it out. So there's no need of me stressing to cut out for the back. So this is what our patterns look like, both for the front and the back. So what I'll be going next to do is to cut out the fabric, which I have done here. So I just added half inches round, and for the down part I added half inches or so. To the side I added 1.5 inches for the side. Then for the back center back I added 1 inch just for the zip allowance. And I also went ahead to cut out to my lining also. So the next thing we want to do is to join the sides together. So what I just want to do now first is to notch out. So where I'm notching out is my side, which I'm going to sew into the dart. So I don't confuse this part for the center bar because they almost look same. So the next thing after this now is to place it on how we are going to be drawing it. So for the front, I lost a video on how I placed it, but if you watch this for the back part, you should be able to understand how we went for the front also. So you just want to go ahead, place your back, open it just like this, and place it side by side and go ahead to sew half inches down. So for the front, you're going to open it also and place the side to the dart part and go ahead to also sew in by half inches. So this is what my back look like. I'm just trying to open it fully, and the part I notch is that. So I'll just be using that as a guide to place the sides together, the side back together. So I would just want to go ahead now, go to my sewing machine and sew. So I've gone ahead to sew for both the front and the back. I also repeated the same process for the lining. And the next thing we want to do now is to join the sides together. So I just want to go ahead to join my sides by 1.5 inches, which is the allowance that I left. So I'll go ahead, place the front on the back and join together. So before joining together, you also want to go ahead to sew your zip to your back. So remember we left 1 inches allowance for the zip. So after placing the zip, like I said, you also want to go ahead to sew the front and the back together. And you will not just do this for the fabric part, you also close the down part. Then you also repeat the same process for the lining. So for the lining, we don't have a zip for the lining. Our zip is just going to be in our main fabric. So you just want to go ahead, place just as I did for the front, so 1.5 inches round, and then come back. So right here I'm done with that, and the next thing I want to do now is to sew my lining to my fabric. So this is what the fabric looks like, and remember our fabric is the only one with the zip. So to sew this, you just open the zip. So I was just trying to show what the main fabric looks like. So I'll just go ahead, open the zip and open up my lining. So to place this, you can get the center point or you place this dart by dart, but just as you see me do, I just went ahead to place it just as you see. Then you'll be sewing like this on the edge, so by 1/2 inches round, and when you get to the zip part like here, you go ahead to place it and also go ahead to sew like on that part, and you repeat the same process for the other part of the zip. So you sew by half inches, sew this way until you come like this, and when you get to the zip part, you also want to go ahead and sew till the end of the zip, and to the end of this part where you sew the zip on the dress. So you just go to your sewing machine and do that. So I'm done with that at this point. So, and I'm going to show you what it's going to look like. But when I sewed mine, I did not close the lining part for the zip part. So I will just open up and show you what the inside looks like. So what you just want to do now is to go to close this part. So this is what it looks like, and at this point I'll say you can give it a good press before after closing this part. So you will want to go ahead, bring out this lining part of the at the end part of the zip separately, and go ahead to close it up to your sewing in your sewing machine. And I'm just going to go to my sewing machine to do that. So at this point I think we're almost done, and what we just left is our side gathers and our sleeve. So for now, what we want to do now is to do, I'll be using the slash and spread method for the side gathers. And if you remember, our back and our front is the same thing because of how we cut it. So I'll just be needing one piece of this to do our slash and spread method. So the first thing I want to do now is to measure the length of what I have here. And whatever length I have, I'm going to go ahead to add 2 inches to it. And these 2 inches is going to serve 1 inches, 1.5 will serve for the folding allowance, and half inches for the joining. So for the width of this gather, you could measure the part of where the gather will be, and you could cut out, it depends on how thick your fabric is or how much fabric you have, and you could cut out 3 times of it so that the gather will be full. For me, for the width, I'll be cutting double of what I have because I'm using the Mikado fabric and I trust the thickness. So this is what I have here. I've gone ahead to cut out my width and the length. So for the length I have 24 inches, and for my width I have about 60 inches here. So the next thing I want to do now is to place it. I folded it, and I'll get my the paper and slash and spread on it. So I've already gone ahead to slash some parts, so you just want to go ahead, cut it out just as you see me do. You could use your ruler to divide it and cut it out and spread it on the fabric until you get what you want. So after cutting and spreading just here, I would just want to go ahead to cut out. So one thing you should take note of is that when placing your pattern paper on this, you should ensure that you have 1.5 inches from the bottom part, which is the allowance that we added for our hemming. So for my cutting, and so after that, I would just want to use my chalk to mark this out. And while marking this out, I just place this curve just at the edge, which I felt was the most necessary part, and I would just want to go ahead to cut out. So after cutting out, the next thing we want to do now is our side gathers. So you just want to go ahead, you measure the part of the gathers, how many inches it is, and you want to go ahead and gather this part so that you have to come back to sew to it. So right here, I'm done with that, and this is my gather. So what I just want to do right now is to sew to it. So before sewing to it, I will say you should sew your lining top stitch on it so that it does not shake out. So right here, I would just want to go ahead, place it to my gathered part, and go ahead to sew half inches. So I'm just trying to like see what it would look like, and I think I like how it's coming out. So I'm done sewing, and the next thing I'll be moving to now is the lining. So for the lining length, I made it 5 inches shorter, and I made the width, I just cut out maybe 30 inches for the width. So you want to go ahead, fold the hem, and also want to go ahead to gather it before coming to sew here. So I will just go to my sewing machine, fold the hem, and also go ahead to gather it. So right here, I'm done with that, and I want to sew my lining to it. So for this lining, you'll be repeating this for both sides. So just watch as I place it. So I'm just going to place it just like this and turn it over. Alternatively, you could place it on the left side to turn it over, or you place it on the other part so that you could serge it also. But if you want yours covered, you want that part to be neat, you place it just as you see me place like that and cover it, or you place it this other way, and what you want to do is to serge. So which other part you pick, you just want to go to your sewing machine and sew it. So we are done with this part, and the next part we'll be moving to is the sleeve. So right here, I have my sleeve piece cut out already, and I've already gone ahead to hem both the top and the down. So what I have for the width, I did 10.5 inches for the width, which is after hemming. And then for my length, I have about 11 inches for the length. So now this is how you're going to go ahead to fold it for the sleeve. So before you do this, you want to go ahead to serge on both sides so that it can come out neat. So you just want to go ahead, fold it like this on both sides, and go to your sewing machine to stitch. So you might also want to use your office pen to hold it down after folding this way, just as you see me do. So you just want to go to your sewing machine and sew it. So after which sewing, this is what it looks like. And the next thing I just want to go ahead to do now is to sew to my dress. So I just want to go ahead, get my dress and measure 2.5 inches from this end and go ahead to place my sleeve just like this. And after placing, so me, I'll still go ahead to lose this so that I can come out neat. But then I just wanted to show you because I don't weave close to me. The place where I weave is not close, so you just want to go ahead after doing that, place it just like this, and there your sleeve is ready and the dress is ready. So thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a beautiful comment.